Hi everyone, Platt Sam. Welcome to part 6 of the Tamiya Rc211v bike build. Before we get going, as always, if you're not subbed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell notifications to get notified of all the latest videos, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment should you wish. I reply to every single one. All the products you see me use today are linked in the description. Go down there, it takes you to a big long list over on the forum. Click it and they're all listed there with links to where you can buy them. So welcome to part 6, you have to bear with me, I am full of cold today, got man flu, it's terrible. But today, we're going to get through all the engine. We're going to get it all painted up, detail painted, assembled, we've got some carbon fibre work to do. And by the end of this video, we should have it all test fitted in the frame to see how it looks. We've still got a bit more work to do as we go, but the call out and the instructions don't call for that yet. So with the bikes, you kind of got to follow those instructions or you'll come a cropper somewhere because something won't fit in. But we're going to get the majority of the engine assembled, some carbon work done, and get it in that frame. Now the carbon I'm going to use today, I'm going to use the Studio 27 carbon. It's really not the best at all. It's terrible stuff. It literally only really reacts to the extra strong UMP, and it takes a good while of constantly brushing over it, and then all of a sudden it goes and you can conform it. I've shortened these sequences down massively, or you'd be there for an hour watching me trying to set one decal. It takes forever. So I'll show those being used. These are the pre-cut ones from Studio 27. They are terrible. I will warn you now. If you've used them, you'll know what I mean. So much so, I'm even contemplating making a UMP decal solution just for them, because I think it needs to be a little bit more potent. Something I might think of at a later date. Obviously, I developed a UMP decal solution, so I can easily tweak what we've got existing to make it a touch stronger again, but they are shocking. So I'll show them today and then I'll come back later in the build, because I don't think the decal carbon pre-cut set covers all the carbon that we need for the bike. I'll see, we'll play that by ear when we reach it. Scale, motorsport stuff is phenomenal, so much easier. It's like night and day compared to the Studio 27. So I'll show that being used later on. Obviously it's not pre-cut, so you've got to cut it yourself. And that's where a little bit more skill becomes into play with it. But I'll show that later on. I've done it before on several other bikes. I'm sure we can do it again on this. And that's it. So without further ado, let's crack on. Let's get going and make a start on part 6. Now, from last time, we've got a whole load of components to mask off today. Sadly, some have been painted the wrong way. I've sprayed the metalwork first, when I should have sprayed the semi-gloss black. So we need to spray them first, then mask off all the different areas and spray them the proper colours. So basically, we've got a couple of parts that are going to be semi-gloss black and metal, and then we've got a couple of different tones of metal on this piece. So we're going to need some nice careful masking and some careful spraying as well. Luckily these, I think they're intake manifolds, they're sprayed the right colour, so we just need to mask off the centre and spray the rest in metallic grey. Using LP paints again, like I've said, the whole bike's going to be painted in those, so we're sticking with that theme. And the battery as well, again, needs to be half black, half silver. Now, we've got this pipe, which to me looks ceramic or a painted metal. Then we've got a bare metal and a rubber as well, so we've got some pretty tricky masking to do on this. And a couple of colours to spray. The metallic's down for that centrepiece of pipe. So we've got all our Azu tapes, these are brilliant. These are in 0.4mm all the way up to 2.5. Very, very handy tape, and it's just as good a quality as Tamiya. Little tip, keep them in the pouches and keep them in a bag as well to keep any dust or fluff off them. As you see, we're going to mask off this little pipe in the middle first. It is sprayed the correct colour. So we're going to mask this off, then we're going to spray the grey, then we'll mask that off and spray the rubber black, which I was going to spray in rubber black LP colour, but instead we did it in flat black in the end. Because looking at the pipes, they're not actually rubber, they are wrapped in what looks to be a self-amalgamating sealant tape. So I doubt the pipes will be rubber anyway, they're probably going to be silicone, but they are black if you look at reference pictures. So with some careful masking using the tweezers, we've got all that centre pipe nicely masked now. So we're going to pick an LP colour. I think we went with LP, it was either 32 or 34, a grey to spray the other parts. The colour callouts call for desert yellow. Looking at my reference, it's not that colour at all. So we're going to spray it grey instead. Now this part is titanium gold at the back and titanium silver at the front. So a little bit careful masking. Again, a tricky little part to mask. But we just need to mask the edge. So when you're picking parts to mask, look at which is the easiest way to mask. To mask this the other way would have been a nightmare. While this is still tricky, it is the lesser of two evils. So it's time worth spent just having a look and just see which way is this easier to mask and paint it appropriately that way. So again, the AZU tape, absolutely phenomenal. Gets right in all those little nooks and crannies, and push fully home and trimmed, we can get a nice demarcation all the way around. And there we go. Once you're happy, make sure it's all fully home. There's no lips or gaps or any of the tape's not quite stuck down. Again, as I said through this whole build, the preparation is the key. Once you're happy you've got the detail kind of masked off, come back in with some thicker Tamiya tape and complete the job. Again, it's another laborious job. You don't have to go to this length. You could brush paint it should you wish. I prefer the finish of an airbrush, so it's 10-20 minutes spent masking. And there we go. There's all the parts masked off. We've got the grey painted on that pipe ready. We've got the blacks sprayed up on the battery, the oil filter and other parts. And now we need to mask them off for the other colours. We're going to let them dry for a little bit. And we're going to deal with this clutch cover, which, as you can see, is carbon on the real bike. And this is the part itself. Quite a good representation of it. As we can see, we've got the Studio 27 carbon set. And those three pieces there are pre-cut to allow easy fitting to the bike. We also have a decal on top as well, which we'll apply later on. But for now, we're going to deal with these. Now, these are an absolute nightmare. I've spoke about them before. I've never had a decal solution that's properly set them. Luckily, I've got UMP extra strong. And after some delicate trimming, now I like to trim these as close as possible for the reason that if the decal does go wrong, you can use the backing paper as a template for your own decal, carbon decal. So trim it as close as possible, and then should you need to, you've got a reference to cut out your own part further down the line. So we're going to go with the center section first. So there's a top, center, and rear part. So there's three parts to the carbon. Now, it's not the friendliest of decals paper, decals to use. The best way to use it is get in position, get the extra strong UMP, cover it in it, let it sit, keep covering it in it, and literally, eventually, it just goes. So it does nothing for a long time, and then all of a sudden, it conforms. Now, I'm hinting with the strong here, just in the hope that it might work, and not a chance. These are by far some of the worst decals I've used, but perseverance, and probably about 40 minutes it took to do this. We finally got this decal down. So I'm showing you using these just as a point of reference, and because I'm sheerly stubborn, and I will make this conform. As you can see, once we've got it on and in place, hitting it with some of the decal solution, it is starting to go very slowly. So once we're happy that that one's starting to go, we pop the top one on. And again, you can see it is shaped. So we've got an overhang each side. And again, letting this soak in the decal solution. We've mounted it on some white tack now to allow us to get this rear part on. Now, I would guess that about 20-25 minutes has elapsed since we first put that first decal on. I'm not going to show the whole process because it's boring and we'll be here all night. So I've cut out most of the footage and this is where we're at. So it's a case of getting it in place, hit it with the extra strong, let it sit, come back, hit it again, let it sit, and eventually it will start to conform. It's like magic, nothing for ages, and then all of a sudden it works perfectly. So as you can see, now we're starting to get somewhere. Now we're starting to be a little bit gentle and trying to get those edges down and any creases out, but it's forgiving decal film because it doesn't rip easy at all. It is as tough as old boots, but the downside to that is it's an absolute nightmare to set. So it literally is back and forth with the decals, put it down, hit it with some solution, put it down, hit it with the solution, and come back. And as you can see, it's very slowly starting to conform. We're probably 40 minutes in now on this, easily. And as you can see, we're just starting to get somewhere. So once it does, get all your edges burnished down with the brush. Just keep working at it until you're getting it all where you want it. Don't be too rough, and just be careful of it sticking to your fingers as well. Patience is the key. Once you're happy, use your finger to conform the edges over. Nice and gentle, no real pressure. We're just pushing it over all the different edges and angles. But if you've used this before and you get it to do this, then yeah, well done. Because it is a nightmare to do. But once it's on, it did look good. As you can see, we've nicely conformed now. Once you're happy, grab a cotton bud and just give it a little helping hand to push into the recesses. Make sure those edges are burnished down. With this kind of paper, I can almost guarantee come back the next day and you could probably take it back off. It might well conform to the edges, but it doesn't stick the best. I much prefer the Scale Motorsport stuff. It's much more reliable and it conforms a lot quicker. But I wanted to use this. I wanted to show it being used as a point of fact, show that the UMP decal solution does set it, and it does look good. It does look good. We're a touch off with the metal parts. They're about half a mil away from the holes you should be, but it still looks good. Now there's another part on the frame as well to do. Again, this took about 40 minutes to do, this one single piece. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but this is the part here. It's number 14 on the sheet. We've got it in our paper, and as you can see, this has got little cutouts in it ready to get it to fold over the edge. And again, same process, hit it with the extra strong, let it sit, hit it again, let it sit, away we go. So we've got Ultimate Decal Solutions, which are phenomenal. Yeah, we sell them, but they are great. We've got our micro set should you wish to use it too. We've got our water pen, that's the wrong one, that's a thin one. And we've got our chisel one too. This is my preferred brush. Don't use the pen with anything in it, just like the brush. We've got our knife and decal tweezers from Tamiya as well. Links to all these tools are in the description down below. You can go down there, take you to the forum, and there's a big long list. So again, patience is the key here. It is going to take a while. Using the extra strong, I'm not going to bother with any others. We're just going to put it on, get it in place, hit it, let it sit, and just keep conforming it until we get it to work. So again, we've got two metal points to line up with the fittings on the frame. Make sure they're in place. It more than likely is going to move around on you while you're putting the solution on. But as you can see, we've got a bit of an overhang each side. And when we're done, we'll paint the back black. So again, make sure you got it in position, then hit it with the extra strong, and just let it sit and let the decal solution do its job. Exactly the same as the other one. It will do nothing for a while, then all of a sudden it'll conform and you can get it to set in place. So there we go. Let it sit. Again, another 40 odd minutes to do this. As you can see, it's starting to go now. I literally had about an hour and a half's footage just doing these two decals, these two sets of decals. It was ridiculous. As you can see, it's starting to conform in the centre and go over the edges now. So again, we'll leave it to one side, hit it up again, come with the brush, a little bit out of camera shot. Once we're happy, we start conforming with our fingers again. Get the edges over. Once you can start doing this, you're winning. And everything is going to start to conform nicely. Make sure it's lined up, you've got all your edges covered. Once you're happy, come back with the cotton bud again to conform it all in place in the centre. Get the excess decal solution off. Make sure it's all burnished down where it needs to be. And again, make sure those edges are rolled over properly. But there we go, we've got a little bit of decal solution on there still, but for the most part that is set in place. And there we go, this is all dried. Looks absolutely lovely. Very, very nice. Like I say, we'll paint the back of it black, but you won't see that anyway. So all those parts we painted up earlier are now masked off, ready for their secondary colour. As you can see, all nicely masked off, ready for colours. We've got a selection of LP paints there to paint them in. We've got the centre of the battery strap to be painted in flat black. We've got the rubber black, which we change halfway through to flat black, which is there, LP3 flat black. That's what we choose to do in the end. We've also got LP11 silver for the oil filter. We've got our rubber black as well, which we do spray, but I'm not keen on the colour. My references show it's a darker black, because like I say, it's not a rubber hose, it looks like tape. And we've got our titanium gold as well. So they've all been painted up. They're now drying on the sidelines. We've got a little bit of detail painting to do on the engine. We've got this grey colour again. I'm assuming this is some sort of ceramic. I'm not 100% sure. If anybody knows in the chat, let me know. But it's a grey colour. It's what's on the engine. It's what's called out for. Whether it's powder coated, I'm not sure. It's a funny looking colour. I'm going to guess it's probably powder coated. But we're detail painting this with a brush. Now we've got some LP1. Or was it LP3? I think it was LP3. The flat black again. Again, as long as you load your brush up, get plenty of paint on to begin with, then let it self-level and leave it alone. Don't go back over it if you can help it. It paints absolutely perfectly. I haven't thinned it at all. Straight out the bottle. Let's make sure the bottle's well shaken, well mixed, and then turn the lid over when you take it off and use that as your little colour receptacle. Like I say, brush paints really well. So we painted the grey on the right, titanium gold in the middle, and flat black on the end here as well. That will dry really quickly, and here we are. Here's all our parts. Looks very smart. This, all our engine components are there, the swing arm and all our bodywork, all ready for where we're at now, basically. So all the engine components are at the top, and we can now start to assemble them and get this engine together. But a very small picture like that. Do you like that? We've got our precision pen from Loctite. We've got some decanted on a blue paint cup, and we're going to start the assembling of the engine. We're going to do a little bit of it here just to show you how I locate parts, and then we're going to speed it up and get through a little bit quicker, because again, we've got a good 40 minutes of footage here that I want to try and show you it all, but it would take too long to go through it step by step. So I've cut some of it out, got to the important bits, and we've got a bit of music to go through. So sump on first. Excuse me. There is a little oil level indicator attached to this, so we painted that in titanium gold as well. And once we hit it with a wash, it'll get a good interpretation of where it's supposed to be. We've got our gel type super glue, so we're just applying it in places where it won't be seen from outside or be squished out and look terrible. So we're just applying it strategically in places to ensure we get proper grip. Don't be using any Tamiya extra thin on this, because it will run and destroy all your hard work. So a nice bit of CA glue. Once this is on, we'll now speed it up and get on with the rest of it. And there we go, there's all the components in place. It's looking very smart. Loving the tone of variation on the colours that I've got, which we'll go through a little bit later on. But plenty to look at, all nicely painted, airbrush well. Even the brush painting looks good in places. We've got no unsightly glue marks, no unsightly masking marks. Everything looks good, and I'm very happy with it. So we've got a few extra decals on there. They've got the Honda logo and the battery box logo. And now we're going to apply our Tamiya panel line wash. So this is the black panel line wash from Tamiya. It can be a bit difficult to get a hold of in the UK. I have a link in the description down below. You can pick it up from mainland Europe, no problem at all. And I'd highly recommend it. I do thin it a little bit more. I put some mineral spirits in there from Windsor Newton, Santador, just to thinner a touch more to get the capillary reaction to work a little bit better. But basically on this, we're looking to put a wash in any recessed or raised areas to add detail and depth to it. So it's a case of touch the brush to it, let the capillary reaction carry it round. Anything that's raised or recessed, hit it with a wash. You can remove it should you wish at a later date, which I'll show you in a minute. Very simple to use. It's an enamel based wash, so perfectly safe over lacquers and water and alcohol based acrylics too. And just take your time, go around, make sure you don't get any fingerprint smudges on it. And we're going to speed this up as well because, again, laborious and a little bit boring. So we'll speed it up and add some music. So there we go, all the wash has been drying now for a good half an hour. We've got some Winsor & Newton sand soda, or Sansador as I call it. A little tiny blob on the end of a cotton bud, wipe it off, and then we're going to go around and remove any excess where we can see it or where we don't quite want it. Just take your time doing this. I like to hit it with the wet side. Once you've got the majority off, spin the cotton bud round to the dry side to wipe off the excess, and just keep doing this process until you've got the wash off in all the places you want it. Basically, we want to use it to shadow and highlight raised or recessed areas, and it adds a nice depth to the engine as well. It's a step a lot of people don't do. It's a nice easy step and a real shame because, as you'll see now, on the engine after the wash, we've had some nice depth and tone to areas, and it does add a lot of detail to places that can look a little bit monotone or boring otherwise. But now we're going to add our bolt heads. So we've got some LP11, we've got a brand new cocktail stick, put a dab of paint on, looking for all the raised bolt heads, and going around and adding a silver paint to them. Again, it adds depth and detail to an engine that can be a little bit monotone, and it's not a criticism of builds, but a lot of the engine builds I see, they've got no detail to them, no depth at all, and little steps like this can just add that interest to them and make them a little bit more visually appealing than a solid block of colour. Once we've been around the whole engine, as you can see with that wash and those bolt heads picked out, we've got some nice detail there. With all our opposing colours, where we've changed the shade slightly, added the wash, detail painted, we've got a visually interesting engine to look at now. So with the actual covers at the top and the engine, I altered the shade slightly. So we've got a bit of tonal difference. Same on the clutch cover as well. And the sump. Again, it just gives a bit of difference to the engine. Adding the contrast of the silver on the oil filter housing as well. Adds a little bit of detail and interest to it. Now the Honda logo on top needs painting in silver. If you're careful and not ham-fisted, which is easy to do with these things, you can use a Molotow chrome pen and just lightly touch it. Don't dab it on because it will capillary run onto the engine, but literally just touch very quickly the top of it in multiple places, and it will give a nice rendition of silver on the engine cover. Now on this, the A filled up a touch, so we're going to grab a cocktail stick and just dab the centre of the A to remove the excess pen. Now this stuff, while it is great, it never really dries, so do this at the very end or you're not going to be handling the engine a lot. As you see, it's going to touch the centre of the A, we've got rid of the excess paint, and that's it, job done. The Honda logo looks great. And we can just add a couple of finishing touches, which is the carbon clutch cover. Now take your time doing this, because if you get seagull on your fingers, it will transfer to the decal. You will rip the decal, or it will look shocking as well. Now some people like to 2K these. Going by the look of my book, these aren't high gloss, they're like a satin, and the decal gives us that look all on our own. So using your reference points, which are the 2 locating tabs on the back, a couple of dabs of CA glue, push it fully home, make sure it's in the correct place, it's flush, and there we are. So we've test fitted it on the frame. It's about a bit tight to get in there, so we're just test fitting to make sure everything lines up, and as you can see, it looks great in the frame. That clutch cover looks fantastic, very happy with that. We're still drying on the intakes at the top, and I probably will need a touch more wash later on, but overall very happy with that. All those contrasting colours, the washes, the detail picked out on the frame, looks great, it makes it visually interesting to look at. And yes, I'm very, very happy with that. If you've got any comments or questions, ask down below. But I'm very happy with this. And that leads us off part 6. So, let's go back to me. Right then, so there we go. Part 6 out of the way. We've got the engine done, test fitted it, bit of carbon work, and it's looking well. Very happy with those colours. The Tamiya LPs, again, was still, the whole bike's been done with Tamiya LP paint still. Even brush painting them, no problem at all. Load your brush up, put it on, don't go back over them too much, and they lay down really, really nice, no problem at all. But literally everything's been painted so far of LPs, and I can't see any reason why the whole bike can't be finished in it. As you've seen in the instructions, some of the call-outs are a bit skew-iffy on the bikes, which is a shame. You know, Japanese bike, Japanese company, MotoGP's big in Japan, you'd think they'd be able to get the colours correct, but according to my sources, they're off in several places. So take the colour call-outs with a pinch of salt. I've said this before about Tamiya, they're renowned for not necessarily being the most accurate on the colour call-outs. So it's your model, so you choose to follow the instructions or look for your own references. Like I say, I am lucky to have those books, and these are invaluable for research on these. I mean, there's no better reference than the actual bikes close up and in person. So, yeah, that's where I go by. I go by those call-outs, and yeah, I swear by them. So that's where we're at today. So what are we going to be doing next time? Right, well, we've got 2 choices. We can either clear coat the body, but we're not quite ready for full 2K yet. I want to paint up the rear hugger, carbon that, and then we've got some more decals to go on that as well, because I probably want to 2K the rear hugger. It's a carbon wheel arch for the back. So I don't think we're quite ready for 2K yet, but we've got some decals to do on the rear swing arm. Yeah, so I think we'll have a look through the instructions and see what the next step is. I don't think we're ready for 2K yet, but in the next part, I've got the hugger and a few of the other components primed in the booth. So we'll paint those up, get the carbon on those as well. Whether it's used to use the carbon for the Studio 27 or we use it as a template, use the Scale Motorsport stuff, would make sense because then I can show you both being used. But I'll have a think about that. I'm going to have a break from the bike for a couple of days, work on my egg boat and maybe the Escort, and then we'll come back to it with part 7. So there we go. Thanks for all the support for the build. It's been phenomenal. We've had growth on the channel because of this build. I can see it in the statistics, so it's very, very good. All the supportive comments and what have you, thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, I'm really enjoying building this. I've been put off doing a bike build on camera for a long time because I thought it'd be way too much to do, and it's a lot of work. It really is. I mean, we're on part 6, and we've painted, decaled the fairings, frame, and the engine. So we're not even halfway through, and we're on part 6, part 7 next time. So there's going to be a lot of parts to this build, but hopefully you're enjoying watching them. The feedback I'm getting is fantastic, and yeah, thank you everybody for your kind words and comments. And yes, so sadly, a few people asked about Warwick. Warwick won't make any appearances in these videos. I try and keep my build videos a bit more, not professional because they're not, but a bit more as normal as I can. We'll save Warwick for the bench updates where I can be a bit silly. He won't make any appearances in these, so we won't be building any bikes or anything like that in the coming future. But again, everyone's loving Warwick, so that's really good as well. So there we are. Thanks for watching today. As always, check out umpretail.com and get a lot of the products I've used today. All the products I've shown is on a big long list in the description down below, as are the links to everything else I'm about to tell you about. umpretail.com. Live at the Bench page, Off Air Hangout group, International Scale Modeler Facebook page and forum. Go over there, you can show all your work on there. You can ask questions. Got my pool, ISM Facebook page as well, where all my work is shared. You can PM me directly on there as well. And of course, if you're not subbed to the channel, sub to us, give us a thumbs up, hit the little bell notifications to get notified of all our latest videos. And of course, leave a comment. I reply to all the comments. It might be a bit late, it does take me quite a while getting through them all. But I do reply to them all and appreciate everybody's feedback and support as well. So thanks for watching today. I'll catch you all next time. Take care. Bye bye.